Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today, I have with me my favorite book, literally ever, Six of Crows. Oh, it's hard tracing backwards. Six Crows by Leigh Bardugo. This is the 10th anniversary edition that I just got in the mail. I talked about this in my last video if you watched that. If not, go watch it. I thought it was a pretty good one. But I just got this in the mail last week and I finished my other book that I was reading. So I was like, it's time for a reread because I love her and this new edition is so cool. I also have, can barely see it, Crooked Kingdom somewhere. Nope, you definitely can't see it. That's the wrong shelf. I have Crooked Kingdom also, the 10th anniversary edition, on my bookshelf as well. So now I have 3 copies of Six of Crows. But it's okay because, like I said, it's literally my favorite book ever. And I kind of reread it once a year for the past 4 years. So I'm gonna have a bunch of copies. Anyways, I thought that it would be a good way to cross off a book from my TBR. I guess more of my fall TBR, like I talked about in my last video. Cross a book off my fall TBR and also make a video for you guys and just read a little bit of it. I probably will only read the first chapter, which is funny because if you know Six of Crows, you know the first chapter is about a character who's literally not in it past the first chapter. But especially if I'm reading aloud, I read pretty slow. And I don't want to make this a super long video because my last one was longer than I meant for it to be. So anyways, clearly I'm very good at rambling. So in an effort to make this not a crazy long video, let's get right into it. I think I'm gonna adjust the camera angle, so give me 1 second. Okay, this is a little bit better, maybe. But now you can see my top bookshelf. There's Crooked Kingdom up there. I have to find a better place to put them on my bookshelf so I can show off the covers. Because Kaz is on this one and Inej is on Crooked Kingdom. But anyways, let's read a little bit. I'm just gonna keep it at this angle. I was going to try and film bird's eye so that you could see the pages, but hopefully you're just listening and not reading along with me so that you can relax and go to sleep. So you just get to stare at Kaz Brekker. I hope that's okay with you. Because I couldn't find a way to prop my camera up like that because my camera's resting against my bed frame right now. The pages are so crisp because it's brand new. Here's the map. The map of I was gonna say just of Ravka, but it's also, there's Fjerda, Novi Sem, and Shuan down here. So it's of this continent that I feel crazy for not knowing the name of. Oh well. There's also a map of the Ice Court, which includes a new map of the dock. Yeah. The Deer Harbor, which, it's really hard to see on here, but I think that's kind of cool. just like politely be like, girl, what are you doing? I'm just gonna say Juiced. That's how I say it in my head. Juiced had two problems: the moon and his mustache. What an excellent way to start the book. Also, this might take a while because of my color commentary. I will be probably stopping to talk about the book because I love it so much. So I'm sorry. I'll try not to. He was supposed to be making his rounds at the Hode house, but for the last 15 minutes he'd been hovering around the southeast wall of the gardens, trying to think of something clever and romantic to say to Anya. If only Anya's eyes were blue like the sea or green like an emerald. Instead, her eyes were brown. Lovely, dreamy, melted chocolate brown. Rabbit fur brown. Just tell her she's got skin like moonlight, his friend Peter had said. Girls love that. A perfect solution, but the Ketterdam weather was not cooperating. There'd been no breeze off the harbor that day, and a gray milk fog had wreathed the city canals and crooked alleys in damp. Even here, among the mansions of the Geldstraat, the air hung thick with the smell of fish and bilge water, and smoke from the refineries on the city's outer islands had smeared the night sky in a briny haze. The full moon looked less like a jewel than a yellowy blister in need of lancing. Maybe he could compliment Anya's laugh, except he'd never heard her laugh. He wasn't very good with jokes. Juice glanced at his reflection in one of the glass panels set into the double doors that led from the house to the side garden. His mother was right. Even in his new uniform, he still looked like a baby. Gently, he brushed his finger along his upper lip. If only his mustache would come in. It definitely felt thicker than yesterday. He'd been a guard in the Stadwatch less than 6 weeks, and it wasn't. Oh gosh. Also, please. And it wasn't nearly as exciting as he'd hoped. He thought he'd be running down thieves in the barrel or patrolling the harbors, getting first look at cargo coming in on the docks. But ever since the assassination of that ambassador at the town hall, the merchant council had been grumbling about security. So where was he? Stuck walking in circles at some lucky mercher's house. Not just any mercher, though. Councilman Hode was about as high-placed in Ketterdam government as a man could be. The kind of man who could make a career. Juice adjusted the set of his coat and rifle, then patted the weighted baton at his hip. Maybe Hode would take a liking to him. Sharp-eyed and quick with the cudgel, Hode would say, that fellow deserves a promotion. Sergeant Juiced Venpole, he whispered, savoring the sound of the words. Captain Juiced Venpole. Stop gawking at yourself. Juiced whirled, cheeks going hot, as Hank and Rucker strode into the side garden. They were both older, bigger, and broader of shoulder than had Juiced, and they were house guards, private servants of Councilman Hode. That meant they wore his pale green livery, I don't know, carried fancy rifles from Novi Sem, and never let Juice forget how he was a lowly grunt from the city watch. Betting that bit of fuzz isn't going to make it grow any faster, Rucker said with a loud laugh. Juice turned to summon some indignity. I need to finish my rounds. Rucker elbowed Hank. That means he's going to go stick his head in the Grisha workshop to get a good look at his girl. Oh, Anya, won't you use your Grecian magic to make my mustache grow? Hank mocked. Juice turned on his heel, cheeks burning, and strode down the eastern side of the house. They'd been teasing him ever since he'd arrived. If it hadn't been for Anya, he probably would have pleaded with his captain for a reassignment. He and Anya only ever exchanged a few words on his rounds, but she was always the best part of his night. As he had to admit, he liked Hode's house too. The few peeks he'd managed through the windows. Hode had one of the grandest mansions on the Geldstraat. Floors set with gleaming squares of black and white stone, shining dark wood walls lit by blown leaves are brown like tree bark. He'd think of something. He was better off being spontaneous anyway. He was surprised to see the glass-paneled doors to the Grisha workshop open. More than the hand-painted blue tiles in the kitchen or the mantels laden with potted tulips, this workshop was a testimony to Hode's wealth. Grisha indentures didn't come cheap, and Hode had 3 of them. But Yuri wasn't seated at the long work table, and Anya was nowhere to be seen. Only Redvenka was there, sprawled out on a chair, in dark blue robes, eyes shut, a book open on his chest. Juice hovered in the doorway, then cleared his throat. These doors should be shut and locked at night. Houses like furnace, Redvenka drawled without opening his eyes, his Ravkan accent thick and rolling. Tell Hode I stopped sweating, I closed doors. Redvenka was a squalor, older than the other Grisha indentures, his hair shot through with silver. There were rumors he'd fought for the losing side in Ravka's civil war and had fled to Kerch after the fighting. I'd be happy to present your complaints to Councilman Hode, Juice lied. The house was always overheated, as if Hode were under obligation to burn coal, but Juice wasn't going to be the one to mention it. Until then, you bring news of Yuri, Redvenko interrupted, finally opening his heavily hooded eyes. Just glanced uneasily at the bowls of red grapes and heaps of burgundy velvet on the work table. Yuri had been working on bleeding color from the fruit into curtains for Mistress Hode, but he'd fallen badly ill a few days ago, and Just hadn't seen him since. Dust had begun to gather on the velvet, and the grapes were going bad. I haven't heard anything. Of course you hear nothing, too busy strutting around in stupid purple uniform. What was wrong with his uniform, and why did Redvenko even have to be here? He was Hode's personal squalor, and often traveled with the merchant's most precious cargo, guaranteeing favorable winds to bring the ships safely and quickly to harbor. Why couldn't he be away, at sea now? I think Yuri may be quarantined. So helpful, Redvenko said with a sneer. You can stop craning neck like hopeful goose, he added. Anya is gone. Just felt his face heat again. Where is she? He asked, trying to sound authoritative. She should be in after dark. 1 hour ago, Hode digs her. Same as night he came for Yuri. What do you mean he came for Yuri? Yuri fell ill. Hode comes for Yuri. Yuri comes back sick. 2 days later, Yuri vanishes for good. Now Anya. For good. Maybe there was an emergency if someone needed to be healed. First Yuri, now Anya. I will be next, and no one will notice except poor little Officer Juiced. Go now. If Councilman Hode. Redvenko raised an arm, and a gust of air slammed Juiced backwards. Juice scrambled to keep his footing, grabbing for the door frame. I said, now. Redvenko etched a circle in the air, and the door slammed shut. Juice let go just in time to avoid having his fingers smashed, and toppled into the side garden. He got to his feet as quickly as he could, wiping muck from his uniform, shame squirming in his belly. One of the glass panes in the door had cracked from the force. Through it, he saw the squalor smirking. That's counting against your indenture, Juice said, pointing to the ruined pane. He hated how small and petty his voice sounded. Redvenko waved his hand, and the doors trembled on their hinges. Without meaning to, Juice took a step back. Go make your rounds, little watchdog, Redvenko called. That went well, snickered Rucker, leaning against the garden wall. How long had he been standing there? Don't you have something better to do than follow me around? Juice asked. All guards are to report to the boathouse, even you. Or are you too busy making friends? I was asking him to shut the door. You don't ask. Oh, skipped a little. Rucker shook his head. You don't ask, you tell. They're servants, not honored guests. Juice fell into step beside him, inside still churning with humiliation. The worst part was that Rucker was right. Redvenko had no business talking to him that way. But what was Juice supposed to do? Even if he had the courage to get into a fight with a squalor, it would be Grisha weren't just servants. They were Hode's treasured possessions. What had Redpenko meant about Yuri and Anya being taken anyway? Had he been covering for Anya? Grisha and dentures were kept to the house for good reason. To walk the streets without protection was to risk getting plucked up by a slaver and never seen again. Maybe she's meeting someone, Juice speculated miserably. His thoughts were interrupted by the blaze of light and activity down by the boathouse that faced the canal. Across the water he could see other fine merchant houses, tall and slender, the tidy gables of their rooftops making a dark silhouette against the night sky, their gardens and boathouses lit by glowing lanterns. A few weeks before, Just had been told that Hode's boathouse would be undergoing improvements and to strike it from his rounds. But when he and Rucker entered, he saw no paint or scaffolding. The gondolas and oars had been pushed up against the walls. The other house guards were there in their sea green livery, and Just recognized 2 Statwatch guards in purple. But most of the interior was taken up by a huge box, a kind of freestanding cell that looked like it was made from reinforced steel, its seams thick with rivets, a huge window embedded in one of its walls. The glass had a wavy bend. That sentence threw me off. The glass had a wavy bend, and through it, Just could see a girl seated at a table, clutching her red silks tight around her. Behind her, a Statwatch guard stood at attention. Anya, Just realized with a start. Her brown eyes were wide and frightened, her skin pale. The little boy sitting across from her looked doubly terrified. His hair was sleep mussed, and his legs dangled from the chair, kicking nervously at the air. While the guards asked to choose, there had to be more than 10 of them crowded into the boathouse. Councilman Hode was there too, along with a merchant Juice didn't know, both of them dressed in merger black. Juice stood up straighter when he saw that they were talking to the captain of the Statwatch. He hoped he'd gotten all the garden mud off of his uniform. What is this? Rucker shrugged. Who cares? It's a break in the routine. Juice looked back through the glass. Anya was staring out at him, her gaze unfocused. The day he'd arrived at Hode House, she'd healed a bruise on his cheek. It had been nothing, the yellow-green remnants of a crack he'd taken to the face during training exercise. But apparently Hode had caught sight of it and didn't like his guards looking like thugs. Juice had been sent to the Grisha workshop, and Anya had sat him down in a bright square of late winter sunlight. Her cool fingers had passed over his skin, and though the itch had been terrible, bare seconds later, it was as if the bruise had never been. When Juice thanked her, Anya smiled, and Juice was lost. He knew his cause was hopeless. Even if she'd had any interest in him, he could never afford to buy her a denture from Hode, and she would never marry unless Hode decreed it. But it hadn't stopped him from dropping by to say hello or to bring her little gifts. She'd liked the map of Kerch best, a whimsical drawing of their island nation, surrounded by mermaids swimming in the true sea, and ships blown along by winds depicted as fat-cheeked men. It was a cheap souvenir of the kind a tourist bought along East Dave, but it had seemed to please her. Now he risked raising a hand in greeting. Anya showed no reaction. She can't see you, moron, laughed Rucker. The glass is mirrored on the other side. Juice's cheeks pinked. How was I to know that? Open your eyes and pay attention for once. First Yuri, now Anya. Why do they need a Grisha healer? Is that boy injured? He looks fine to me. The captain and Hode seemed to reach some kind of agreement. Through the glass, Juice saw Hode enter the cell and give the boy an encouraging pat. There must have been vents in the cell because he heard Hode say, "Be a brave lad, and there's a few Kruga in it for you." Then he grabbed Anya's chin with a liver-spotted hand. She tensed, and Juice's gut tightened. Hode gave Anya's head a little shake. Do as you're told, and this will soon be over, yeah? She gave a small, tight smile. Of course, Uncle. Hode whispered a few words to the guard behind Anya, then stepped out. The door shut with a loud clang, and Hode slid a heavy lock into place. Hode and the other was Red Benko, I'd be worried. But Anya has a sweet disposition. She's a healer, not prone to aggression. And you've lowered the dose. Yes, but we're agreed that if we have the same result as the fabricator, the council will compensate me. I can't be asked to bear that expense. When the merchant nodded, Hout signaled to the captain. Proceed. The same results as the fabricator. Red Benko claimed Yuri had vanished. Was that what he'd meant? Sergeant, said the captain, are you ready? The guard inside the cell replied, yes, sir. He drew a knife. Juiced swallowed hard. First test, said the captain. The guard bent forward and told the boy to roll up his sleeves. The boy obeyed and stuck out his arm, popping the thumb of his other hand into his mouth. Too old for that, thought Juiced, but the boy must be very scared. Juiced had lived with a sock bear until he was nearly 14, a fact his older brothers had mocked mercilessly. This will sting just a bit, said the guard. The boy kept his thumb in his mouth and nodded, eyes round. This really isn't necessary, said Anya. Quiet, please, said Hode. The guard gave the boy a pat and slashed a bright red cut across his forearm. The boy started crying immediately. Anya tried to rise from her chair, but the guard placed a stern hand on her shoulder. It's all right, Sergeant, said Hode. Let her heal him. Anya leaned forward, taking the boy's hand gently. Shh, she said softly. Let me help. Will it hurt? The boy gulped. She smiled. Not at all. Just a little itch. Try to hold still for me. Juiced found himself leaning closer. He'd never actually seen Anya heal someone. Anya removed a handkerchief from her sleeve and wiped away the excess blood. Then her fingers brushed carefully over the boy's wound. Juiced watched in astonishment as the skin slowly seemed to reform and knit together. A few minutes later, the boy grinned and held out his arm. It looked a bit red, but was otherwise smooth and unmarked. Was that magic? Anya tapped him on the nose. Of a sort. The same magic your own body works when given time and a bit of a bandage. The boy looked almost disappointed. Good, Hode said impatiently. Now, the parem. Juiced frowned. He'd never heard that word. The captain signaled to his sergeant. Second sequence. Put out your arm, the sergeant said to the boy once again. The boy shook his head. I don't like that part. Do it. The boy's lower lip quivered, but he put out his arm. The guard cut him once more. Then he placed a small wax paper envelope on the table in front of Anya. Swallow the contents of the packet, Hode instructed Anya. What is it? She asked, voice trembling. That isn't your concern. What is it? She repeated. It's not going to kill you. We're going to ask you to perform some simple tasks to judge the drug's effects. The sergeant is there to make sure you do only what you're told and no more. Understood? Her jaw set, but she nodded. No one will harm you, said Hode. But remember, if you hurt the sergeant, you have no way out of that cell. The doors are locked from the outside. What is that stuff? Whispered Juiced. Don't know, said Rucker. What do you know? He muttered. Enough to keep my trap shut. Juiced scowled. With shaking hands, Anya lifted the little wax envelope and opened the flap. Go on, said Hode. She tipped her head back and swallowed the powder. For a moment she sat, waiting, lips pressed together. Is it just Gerda? She asked hopefully. Juiced found himself hoping, too. Gerda was nothing to fear, a stimulant. Everyone in the stat watch chewed to stay awake on late watches. What does it taste like? Hode asked. Like Gerda, but sweeter, Anya inhaled sharply. Her hand seized the table, her pupils dilating enough that her eyes looked nearly black. Oh, she said, sighing. It was nearly a purr. The guard tightened his grip on her shoulder. How do you feel? She stared at the mirror and smiled, her tongue peeked through her white teeth, stained like rust. Juiced felt suddenly cold. Just as it was with the fabricator, murmured the merchant. Heal the boy, Hode commanded. She waved her hand through the air, the gesture almost dismissive, and the cut on the boy's arm sealed instantly. The blood lifted briefly from his skin in droplets of red, then vanished. His skin looked perfectly smooth, all trace of blood or redness gone. The boy beamed. That was definitely magic. It feels like magic, Anya said with that same eerie smile. She didn't touch him, marveled the captain. Anya, said Ode, listen closely. We're going to tell the guard to perform the next test now. Hummed Anya. Sergeant, said Ode, cut off the boy's thumb. The boy howled and started to cry again. He shoved his hands beneath his legs to protect them. I should stop this juice lot. I should find a way to protect her. Both of them. But what then? He was a nobody, new to the Stat Watch, new to this house. Besides, he discovered in a burst of shame, I want to keep my job. Anya merely smiled and tilted her head back, so she was looking at the sergeant. Shoot the glass. What did she say? Asked the merchant. Sergeant, the captain barked out. Shoot the glass, Anya repeated. The sergeant's face went slack. He cocked his head to one side as if listening to a distant melody, then unslung his rifle and aimed at the observation window. Get down, someone yelled. Juice threw himself to the ground, covering his head as the rapid hammer of gunfire filled his ears and bits of glass rained down on his hands and back. His thoughts were a panicked clamor. His mind tried to deny it, but he knew what he'd just seen. Anya had commanded the sergeant to shoot the glass. She'd made him do it. But that couldn't be. Gracia Corporalki specialized in the human body. They could stop your heart, slow your breathing, snap your bones. They couldn't get inside your head. For a moment, there was silence. Then Juiced was on his feet, with everyone else reaching for his rifle. Hode and the captain shouted at the same time, subdue her, shoot her. Do you know how much money she's worth? Hode retorted. Someone restrain her, do not shoot. Anya raised her hands, red sleeves spread wide. Wait, she said. Juiced's panic vanished. He knew he'd been frightened, but his fear was a distant thing. He was filled with expectation. He wasn't sure what was coming, or when, only that it would arrive, and that it was essential he be ready to meet it. It might be good or bad, he didn't really care. His heart was free of worry and desire. He longed for nothing, wanted for nothing, his mind silent, his breath steady. He only needed to wait. He saw Anya rise and pick up the little boy. He heard her crooning tenderly to him some Ravkan lullaby. Open the door and come in, Hode, she said. Juiced heard the words, understood them, forgot them. Hode walked to the door and slid the bolt free. He entered the steel cell. Do as you're told, and this will soon be over, yeah, Anya murmured with a smile. Her eyes were black and bottomless pools. Her skin was alight, glowing, incandescent. A thought flickered through Juiced's mind. Beautiful as the moon. Anya shifted the boy's weight in her arms. Don't look, she murmured against his hair. Now, she said to Hode, pick up the knife. Dun, dun, dun. The next chapter